Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Jackie Johnson. I'm Director of Communications for Alachua County Public Schools, and I am so pleased to welcome Shannon Colavecchio. She is a spokesperson for the Florida Prepaid College Savings Plans program, and she has some terrific information for us that will really benefit parents, grandparents, families of children really of all ages. And so, Shannon, we want to welcome you and thank you for being here and talking with us about this really important topic.
Thank you so much. I love talking about college savings, and I'm happy to be here to answer any questions.
Great. Tell us first, how do college savings plans, these Florida prepaid plans, work?
Great question. We get this one a lot. So the way a prepaid plan works, it is actually considered by the IRS to be a type of 529 plan, but it is not an investment-based savings plan, right? The Florida prepaid plans work that essentially you lock in your plan price today, and that essentially makes you protected from future tuition increases. So you lock in a price today to cover tuition in the future. So for example, the one-year university plan right now is $45 a month for a newborn. The prices go up a little bit as the child gets older, just because you have less time to save.
Sure.
And so $45 a month, when you lock that in, the guarantee is that not only will the price never go up, it will always be $45 a month. Our guarantee to you is that when it's time for your child to go to college, say 16, 18, years from now, whatever has happened to tuition, it could have skyrocketed. We are still going to cover those 30 credit hours based on the value of your plan and what you saved for. So it's a nice, nowadays everything is going up. I mean, every time I get gas or I go to the grocery store, it's like, this is nuts. So it's kind of nice to have this thing that is obviously an important thing, college savings, that is not subject to inflation. You can know that what the price is and you can budget for it, right? If you're a family that is very particular about how you spend your money every month, you can know exactly what that price is going to be.
How will a family know what their price is going to be? You mentioned the one plan, but I'm sure families come to you with all sorts of different situations. How will they know how much this would cost them?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a two-sided question. So number one, we have 5 plans plus a dorm plan, and they range from that one-year university plan. We have a 2-year college, a 4-year college, because all of our state colleges now offer great degree programs in high demand fields. We also have a 2+2. So that scenario would be you start at Santa Fe and you move on to UF, right? We see that a lot. And then we have the traditional 4-year university. The prices of plans are based on a few things. Part of that is going to be determined by the age of your child, right? If you are looking at a 10-year-old child, well, they have 8 years between then and when they're going to go to college, most likely, that they're going to need to save. If you're talking about a newborn, that's 18 years of saving. So the cost of that plan will be divided out over that runway. So we have a pricing calculator at myfloridaprepaid.com, and it's great because you would enter the birth date of your child or children. And for each of the plans, it will spit out a chart, and it shows you for each of those plans exactly what the monthly payment would be, what it would be to do it over a 5-year payment plan, which is a little bit more like a car payment, right? And then what it would be to do it as a lump sum. So in other words, what does the plan actually cost if I do it all at once versus over 5 years versus every month until they go to college? And the nice thing about that is that I think as parents, we always want to do everything that we can for our kids. But, I would say probably a lot of families may not be able to do the 4-year university plan. That's the more expensive of the 5, just based on tuition, costs. And so we encourage families to look at those options and say, what can I afford today, right? What could I do? It may be that you look at the 4-year university, that doesn't work with your budget, but you look at the 2-year college and you say, that actually works. And so that will guarantee that we cover their AA degree. And everything that you save is $1 that they don't have to borrow. And so it may be that you can't do everything, but something is better than nothing, especially when we do have a lot of kids that also have bright futures, or they may have another, scholarship. And so a lot of times prepaid ends up being part of a kind of a mix of options they have to pay for college.
And we'll talk a little bit about scholarships in just a second. First, I wanted to ask you, and I'm sure it's a question you guys get an awful lot. Parents are probably wondering, well, what happens if my child decides not to go to college here in Florida? Or what if they decide not to go to college at all? What happens then?
Yeah. So they are called Florida Prepaid plans. And so obviously I think it makes it, you think, well, they have to go here, right? And the plan prices are based on the tuition, value at a state college here or a university. But you can always take your plan and apply it to any private or public institution anywhere in the country. What would typically happen is that, for example, if you have a 4-year university plan, but instead of going to UF, the child goes to, I'll say Texas Tech University. Okay. Football champs, they want to go, whatever. So they go. So if they're living in Florida and they decide to go to Texas Tech, we would send to Texas Tech what we would have sent to UF. Now, so the value of their plan remains the same.
Right.
But if they're not considered an in-state resident in Texas, they're probably going to be paying the higher tuition rate. So the families may find that they have a gap.
Right.
Long story short, and likewise, if instead of going to UF, they decide to go to, heck, they could even go to a private institution here, like a Rollins or, University of Miami, right? And so those tuitions are going to be higher than a state tuition. So we would send there what we would have sent to the state university, but there would probably be a gap because, again, the tuition at a private is higher. But the family that's been saving that whole time, they have not lost any of the value of their plan. And the other nice thing about a prepaid plan is that, I think families that may be saving in a bank account or, putting money away, however, there's always the risk of like, well, am I saving enough? Right? Because again, tuition, we don't know what's going to happen. With a prepaid plan, you at least know, no, based on your monthly payment plan, you are paying enough for that particular scenario of, whether they go to college or university.
Right.
And we build the plans for flexibility because especially when your children are young, kindergarten, you have no idea what they're going to want to watch on TV tomorrow, much less what
Right.
they're doing at the job. So we understand that there is that, uncertainty. And so the answer is you can save now and the scenarios will sort of adapt, to that plan. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned scholarships. How would a Florida prepaid plan work if the child gets a scholarship or more than one scholarship?
Yes, we do see this a lot, which is great. We have a lot of rock stars in our state here. And so Bright Futures is one example. Typically what would happen is the student has a prepaid plan and they have a Bright Futures. Whatever the Bright Futures will either cover, I think it ranges from 50 to 75 to 100%. They change that legislation sometimes year to year, but say, for example, the Bright Futures scholarship covered full tuition. Well, it means that they won't need their prepaid plan for tuition that semester or any of the semesters if they keep their Bright Futures. So the family would get a refund check back every semester for whatever isn't used in the prepaid plan. And then that's what families use to cover the other costs of college, right? Because it's not just, we know that college is not just tuition, unfortunately. It's books and housing and, technology and all those things. So we do see that happen. And, families can always get, if a child gets a full ride somewhere, or maybe they decide not to go to college, they just don't, a family can get a full refund of every dollar that they have not used in their plan. They can also transfer it to another child. So that's another scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in open enrollment right now for this year, for families to get enrolled for their child for this year. And that obviously happens every year. What's the deadline for this year? And do you have any sort of special offers going on right about now?
Yes, the deadline's coming up. It's April 30th. So that is when open enrollment will end. We started on February 1st. And so our promotion this year is that we've never done this before, but we're actually going to give families up to $500 to be used toward other college costs. So it will work like this. For every year of college or university that you buy with a prepaid plan, because I mentioned that we have 1, 2, and 4-year scenarios, right? For every year that you buy, we will give you $125 to be put into a Florida 529 savings plan. So what that does is the Florida 529 savings plan, I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, that is another thing that we offer. It is an investment-based plan. So there is no required monthly contribution. You put in what you can, when you want, right? And you're just trying to grow that over time using whatever investment strategy that you decide on. A lot of people use it's a scenario that's kind of based on age in terms of how aggressive, the investing is.
Sure.
But the nice thing about a 529 savings plan is that it does cover tuition. It can, but it can also cover books, housing, and all those other costs. When families are able to, we find that they like having both plans because they have the prepaid plan locks in tuition and that 529 savings plan helps cover all the other things. So what we're doing with this promotion is kind of letting families know you can have a prepaid plan and you can have the 529 savings plan. And by giving families up to $500 into that 529 savings plan, our message really is that, number one, congratulations, like you're doing an amazing thing for your child. And we want to really kind of reward that. And also that we do want to be part of that journey, in helping families save. And it's a great thing to have. Both plans are great for gifting too. When you enroll, you have a gifting portal and you can always send families the link at birthdays or Christmas and say, I don't need another Lego set, but I would like you to contribute $100 into the 529 savings or whatever that looks like. So
Right.
It's a great promotion. And, we're basically giving everybody up to $500, which is nice.
Okay, great. And again, the deadline is April 30th. So it is
April 30th. Yep. myfloridaprepaid.com. Your homework, if you're watching this, is to go there and then, surf around a little bit, educate yourself, and then use that pricing calculator to see what it would cost your family.
Great. All right. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it with great information about the Florida Prepaid college plans.
Thank you
We
so much.
appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.